Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Barbara and I love to create budget-friendly farmhouse decor. So if that is something you enjoy, I hope you will click that subscribe button and then the bell icon and then click all to be notified the next time I upload a new video. I'm really excited about these 4 Farmhouse Christmas DIYs. So let's get started with our first project. I'm using this round wood hanging decor piece from Dollar Tree. I'm going to go ahead and remove that tag. And then to fill in those holes, I'm just going to use some spackling and rub that in smooth, and then I'll set that to the side and let that dry. I am also using one of these wooden birdhouses from Dollar Tree. I got this back in the summer, and I'm going to be using some black chalkboard craft paint. I purchased this from Dollar General. You could actually just go ahead and paint this entire birdhouse, but I'm going to be covering the front, back, and the 2 sides with some scrapbook paper, so I didn't bother painting the center of those pieces. But I did make sure that I painted the roof and underneath the roof. And then I also go ahead and paint that back piece through the circle so you wouldn't see just the wood. Once that paint has dried, to cover these outside pieces, I am using this black and red buffalo check scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. And I'm just going to cut this down to a close enough size so that I can cover the back part of the birdhouse. And I just hold it up. Once I figured out which design I wanted to put on there, I'm just going to hold that up against the back and then press firmly with my fingers to make indentions so I'll know where to cut that roof line down at. So then I'll just cut right there below at the bottom of that roof line, and then I'll place that up there, make sure that it does fit, and then do that for the bottom and the sides as well, and then I'll just cut those down. And then I'll take that same piece, since it's the same size for the front and the back, I'm just going to line that up on my scrapbook paper so I make sure I get the same design, because I wanted the same design to go all the way around the birdhouse. And then I'll just trace that out and cut that down. And then to get to make sure I can get the hole and then the perch for the front of the birdhouse, once I get this piece cut down, I'll hold that top point up to the roof line, and then I can use my finger to make the indentation of where the hole is. And then once I get that indentation good enough in there where I can see it, I'm going to take a hole punch so that I can punch a hole in there so I can start to cut it. And I couldn't see it very well because it was on the dark part of the paper, so I do go in with pencil to trace around where those indentions are. And now that I have made that hole, I can just take my scissors and cut the center of that hole out so that it will fit nice and smooth on top of the birdhouse. And then for the perch part, once I place the paper back on there, I can make an indentation on the top of the perch with my finger. Just make sure I just get the top part of that perch, and then I can take my hole punch and cut out right where that indentation is. And then I always dry fit it and make sure everything is fitting onto the birdhouse before I'll glue anything down. So I've got my front and back pieces, and now it's time to cut the side pieces. And again, I want to make sure my design goes the same way all the way around the birdhouse. So I'm just going to take my scrapbook paper and cut down the image where the design is to a more manageable size piece. And then I'm going to take that and put it up against the back of the birdhouse, and then I can make my indentation at the bottom part of where the roof is. And this will make a little bit more sense here shortly. Once I hold that up there, I can just push that down where the roof line is, so I'll know that the bottom part of that corner is where I need to cut to go across, so that I'll have the height on the scrapbook paper that I'll need for the side. And once I get that cut down, I can just line it up on the side and then press those sides down to make my indentation so I'll know where to cut. And then the other side will be exactly the same as this piece. So you can just take that, line it up on your scrapbook paper, and then trace it out and cut it down, or just cut around the piece that you already have pressed up against the scrapbook paper. And then once I get all of my pieces cut down and I know they're going to fit good, I'm going to take some Mod Podge, and I use matte Mod Podge. That way it doesn't have a super glossy finish when you're done. And I'm going to apply it all over the front, back, and sides of the birdhouse, apply my paper and smooth it out, and then I will go back in and put the Mod Podge over top of all the paper, and then I'll set that to the side and let it dry completely. Now that my spackling has dried on the round wood plaque, I'm going to give that one very heavy coat of my Waverly chalk paint in white, and then I'll set that to the side to dry. Now that the birdhouse has dried from the paint and the Mod Podge, I felt like it needed a little bit of snow on there. So I'm just taking my Mod Podge and emphasizing mostly on the roof peak and then just sporadically around the roof. And then I'm going to sprinkle this artificial snow. This came in a package from Walmart with some trees. And then I'm also going to go ahead and put that around the edging at the bottom part of the birdhouse as well. And for the hole that I had cut out, that center, I just took my sandpaper and sanded that down real smooth to give it a nice clean finish right there where I had cut that hole out. Now it's time to assemble this piece, so I'm just going to hot glue the birdhouse down more towards the side of the plaque. And then I'm using this cute pick that came from Dollar Tree that has this really cute red bird on it. And I'm going to pull the clip off of the bottom, and then I'm going to hot glue the pick on the other side of the birdhouse. And then I'll just rearrange the branches and fluff those out and place them where I want them to be. And this project is complete, and I think this is so cute. And you could decorate this in so many ways. You could use it just as it is, or you can set it on top of a candle holder, like a tea light with a flameless candle in it, and it's super cute. For the second project, I am using the smaller wreath form from Dollar Tree. You can get 2 in a pack for $1. And I'm also going to be using this 2-inch wired natural burlap. This came from burlapfabric.com, and I'll have a link to their website in my description box below. This is a nice size roll. It has 10 yards in it, and like I said, it's the natural burlap. And I'm just going to take this and pull it underneath, and then I'm going to hot glue it to itself so I can attach that there so I can wrap this entire wreath form. I just like to put the hot glue on there and then flip it over and glue it to itself, including the top part of that wire form, and let that set up before I begin wrapping it. And as I wrap it, I am going to I'm going to leave about a quarter of that burlap ribbon right there on the edge, and I'm going to try to do this all the way around so it looks like a quarter part of that overlapping. I hope that makes sense. And I'm just gluing periodically. I'm not gluing consistently. So when you're finished and you glue your last piece on there, you can still fluff it around and move it a little bit because not all the pieces are glued together. To decorate this, I'm using this owl Christmas ornament from Dollar Tree, and I just cut the hanger off of the top of it, and then I'm gonna I didn't really like all that long greenery on there, so I do trim a lot of that down. I liked the greenery, I just felt like it was a little too long. And then I'm going to glue that to the bottom of the wreath, and I use a good amount of hot glue. Let that set up, and then I'm taking some of these garland ties from Dollar Tree, and I've gone ahead and painted some of them with my white chalk paint to give it a snowy look. And then I just glue those down around the bottom part of the owl just to kind of fill it in a little more, to give it more fullness and to look a little more high end. And then I'm going to go in after I attach this greenery with some red berries. These came from Dollar Tree, and it's just some leftovers that I had in my craft room. And I'm going to cut down a couple of these smaller bunches and then glue those on the greenery as well. And then I have some mini pine cones. These came from Hobby Lobby when they were having their Christmas sale. But I do believe that Dollar Tree sells these as well, the very small pine cones. And I'm just going to place those around the bottom part where the greenery is. And then to give it a little bit more high-end look, I'm going to glue a few on each side of the owl so it almost looks like he's sitting in the trees. And then I'm going to take some more berries and glue those around where the pine cones are, and then a couple right there, well, like one right in the center on each side, just to give it a little bit of color on the sides. And then to create the hanger, I'm going to use the same red and black buffalo check ribbon. This came from Hobby Lobby, and it matches perfectly with the front of this owl. And I'm just going to feed that through and then glue the ribbon to itself, and then I'll cut that extra on the back of it off so that it's flush at the top. And then I'm going to pull about the length that I want the hanger to be times 2. So I'm going to make it twice as long because I'm going to loop it back down, and this will make a little more sense here shortly. But once I cut that down, I'm just going to fold it down and then flip it over so the design shows on the front, and this is going to create the hanger. And you could hang this up on a window with like a suction cup, or it would look great hanging on a very small door like a linen closet with a command strip. And then I created a very simple bow. I am not a professional bow maker, but I just put 2 loops and then had my tails together, and then I will squeeze the center together and attach that with some hemp rope, and I'm going to double knot that rope around there. Once I got that tied, I didn't like that the tail was sticking in the front of one of the loops. So I do loosen my knot up a little bit, and then I'll take that tail that's in the front and feed it through the loop. And then I'll tighten that back up, that hemp rope back up, to make it a nice secure fit. And then I'm going to dovetail the ends of my bows after I cut this excess hemp rope off. And then after I dovetail it, I'm going to attach my bow to the hanger right there where it is attached to the wreath. And then I'm going to fluff my bow out nice and pretty, and this project will be finished. And it is so super cute. I really love how this one turned out. And if you had a very large tree, you could use this as an ornament as well. But I think it would be so cute hanging in a kitchen window. Let me know what you think of project number 2. So moving on to the third project, I am using one of these wooden stocking ornaments. These come in a package at Dollar Tree, and I'm using one of the buffalo check tree skirts from Dollar Tree. I've already used part of this in another DIY. And I just line the ornament up where I want the design to be on the stocking. And then I'm going to trace around that and then cut that down. So I'm going to be creating a 2-sided ornament. And on one side, I wanted this buffalo check, and on the other side, I wanted burlap. And I'm going to be using a piece of burlap from burlapfabric.com. Again, I will have their website listed in my description box below if you're interested. They do sell these 12-inch by 12-inch sheets. And I'm just going to do the same thing I did with the tree skirt, and I'm going to hold my stocking up and trace that out and cut it down. And then I wanted each side to have an accent of the other material. So on the buffalo check, I wanted the top of the stocking and the toe of the stocking to have the burlap, and then I want the burlap side to have the top of the stocking and the toe of the stocking in the buffalo check. So I'm just going to hold that ornament up and trace out those pieces and then cut them down. And I use the back of the stocking to get that curve where the toe is. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the tree skirt so that I can have those pieces for the burlap side of the ornament. And then once I get all those pieces cut out, I'm going to be attaching these to the wood ornament with some matte Mod Podge. Again, you can use whatever Mod Podge you have on hand. I just happen to have matte, and I like the finish of it. It's not super glossy. I do make sure that I have this on parchment paper since I'm going to be applying Mod Podge to both sides, and I didn't want it to stick to anything. before it dried. So I apply a nice even coat, and then I'll put my fabric on there. And then I go ahead and flip it on the other side and put the burlap on. And then I'll go ahead and put my Mod Podge on to attach the top of the stocking and the toe of the stocking. And then I'm going to go back over that entire side with Mod Podge to seal everything in. And then I'm going to flip it back over and do the same thing on the other side, adding that burlap on top of the buffalo check, and then going back over top that entire piece with Mod Podge to seal everything in. Then I'm going to make sure it's completely dry before I trim any of the excess off. So now that it's completely dry, I'm just going to take my X-Acto knife and trim off any of the excess pieces around the ornament that are sticking out. And once I get that done, I'm going to take another of the same wood ornaments and hold that up, because now my material has covered up the hole for the hanger. I just took a sharp utensil pokey tool and poked through there, and then just kind of wiggled it around to make the hole large enough to get my hemp rope in. And I put a piece of tape on the end of that so I could pull it through the ornament. Then determine the length of how long I want the hanger to be, and I'm just going to cut that down. And I actually just double knotted it. It's probably a much better way to do that. You could probably loop it through, but I just double knotted it, cut the excess off, and now this ornament is finished. And I think it's so cute. It's double-sided. I really like that it has a dual purpose, and I think it turned out super cute and super farmhouse. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this ornament. Now, moving on to the fourth project, super easy. I purchased this jute tote bag from Burlap Fabric, and it is a nice size. It's 17.5 inch by 11.5 inch by 8.5 inch. And I thought this would be a really cute tote to carry small Christmas presents in when you wanted to take your Christmas presents, if you're having a work get together or a family function or anything that you have some smaller presents you wanted to take. And I bought this stencil from Walmart, and this came in a package with 46 designs, and it was about a little less than $10, but it has a lot of stencils in there. I just took some scrap cardboard, and I'm going to place that behind the top part of the tote bag because I didn't want it to bleed through on the back side. And then I'm going to center up my stencil, and then to keep it in place, I'm just going to use some painter's tape. It's not going to secure it, but it's going to keep it from moving around so much and making sure that it stays centered. And then to fill this in, you could use paint, but I'm just going to use my black oil-based Sharpie to fill this in because it's just the lettering. And I'm going to take this and go around each of the letters, and I do like to push the stencil down to make sure that it doesn't pop up and it doesn't bleed through. And because this is a Sharpie, it does dry out just a little bit, so you'll have to tap on it just a little bit to get that color to come back up. And then once I'm finished, I'm just going to remove my stencil, and then I'll set it to the side and let it dry completely. But I just love how this tote turned out. It is so cute. I love that Merry Christmas matches the handles and the side, and it's just really cute. You guys, if you have a favorite out of the projects today, please let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Please take care, and I will see you guys next time.